Welcome back. Let's now talk local government autonomy. On one hand, the state governors, I clearly heard the Kwara State governor, who is the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, say, look, it's a good thing, it's like one burden off our shoulder. But the federal government appears to have a different version of the same event, saying, you're a chokehold on the neck of the local government. We're ready to go as far as we can go to get that chokehold off. First, they went to court. They won. And now they set up a 10-man committee comprising of all the stakeholders involved to ensure that indeed this autonomy works. So there's a period of about 3 months or so for all the details to be worked out together. But where will this lead us now that the local governments are approaching this full-scale autonomy? We've been joined in the program to explore the conversation by the National Coordinator of Democracy Vanguard, Governance Policy, Public Policy and Development Consultant, Mr. John Mutu. Mr. Mutu, thank you for coming on the program. If you can hear me, Mr.
so much
Mutu,
for having me. Good morning.
Absolutely. So let's begin with what you expect to happen in the coming days. It appears the federal government apparently means business with the way they are going about this local government autonomy. But people have raised concern about the state governors or state government still may find a way around it to put the chokehold that the federal government says is going to be lifted off the neck of this local government. What's your interpretation of what is playing out?
Yes, thank you so much. I think it's expected. The Supreme Court has given its judgment, and the federal government is expected to ensure that the judgment is complied with. I think what we are seeing are administrative procedures that are needed to be put in place to ensure that that judgment is enforced. Of course, the state government also definitely will want to ensure that at least there is seamless implementation of the judgment. They've asked questions. They've also raised their concerns. They've raised their fears. So I'm sure this platform that has been set up by the president will provide the enabling environment for them to have that conversation. So I see a lot of action. I see a lot of engagement within the next few days. But I must congratulate Mr. President for this bold move.
Right. So, well, you call it a bold move. Some say it was there in the Constitution anyway, but that speaks to the kinds of institutions we have, the kinds of people we have in governance, whether or not they're people who indeed abide by that oath that they saw with the Constitution. So that's the conversation for another day. But this is where we're going to now. So let's just tackle it head on. We've heard suggestions like, okay, maybe the federal government might need to put this on hold for some time for state governments to acclimatize. I don't know what that means, but maybe they can work things out and implement it much later in the year. Now, that's one thing. The second one is the autonomy may be granted, but some would willfully yield it to the state governors that, yes, as a sign of respect, take this autonomy. We don't want it. Help us to use it. The third part of this is just how much powers then will this committee have in terms of wielding it over the states, the subnational states and the local government? If we're saying autonomy, then allow this thing to play out. So isn't this infringing on that autonomy that you're fighting for? And I'm talking about the committee, the 10-man committee that was just unveiled yesterday. Do you think this infringes on the autonomy that we're fighting for in the first place?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think there are a few issues. The Supreme Court judgment is clear. The first is that only democratically elected local government officials should manage the affairs of local government as enshrined in the Constitution. And the second one is a consequential order. If they pay directly, monies meant for local government should be paid to them directly. Those two issues, one is a condition, any state that refuses to conduct local government elections, it means that one of the things the federal government will be doing, as mandated by the Supreme Court, is to ensure that those monies meant for those states or those local governments in those states are not released. But the question is, are the necessary administrative mechanisms available on ground at the moment to ensure, because the Supreme Court just said it should take place immediately. But for instance, that means that each of those local governments must set up their own statutory accounts, and set up the necessary mechanism for them to be able to draw funds directly from the federation account directly. So those systems, those mechanisms need to be put in place. Secondly, some people have also asked, each month people gather at the FACT meetings to share resources. Who are those that will be attending? Before now, we used to have all the accountant generals of the states, 36 states, attending those meetings to look at the records, to look at what has been raised, and based on what, and now maybe share those resources. Now that local governments are now going to be participants, are we expecting all the representatives of the local government to come to Abuja to participate at that meetings, or are they going to be represented? If they are going to be represented, who will represent them? These are all issues that they still need to be worked at, and that is why that negotiation for time to allow for those internal processes to be put in place was asked for. And I think 3 months is not too much. 3 months is reasonable for all those issues to be put in place. But beyond that, there are also other issues that the state governments have asked, responsibilities, and also ensuring that this judgment does not create crisis in their various states. And maybe so what the committee will be doing is, and I know that the representatives of the Governors Forum is there, the representative of Algon is also in that committee. They will look at the concerns of the governors, they will look at the concerns, the issues that have arisen, they will look at the implications and collectively agree on a way. So for me, it's more or less a problem solving approach that the presidents are taking to make sure that all hands are on deck and everybody is brought in to ensure that there is seamless implementation. I expect the governors and the state governments to celebrate that, and it gives them an opportunity to also raise their concerns if there are more.
All right, Mr. Musu, let's talk about the link between financial autonomy of local government and rural development. We know that there has to be a difference this time. So it's not like before the state government or the rural people in the rural areas will say, oh, the state government just comes, maybe does campaign, and then they forget us. But now that this money will be getting to the local government, you've already said when you were answering that question about you do not think that these local governments, especially workers there, are not ready because there are certain things that have not been put in place. So maybe the 3 months time would allow that space for things to be put in place. But also talking about the readiness of these local government workers, knowing the work that has been cut out for them. How do you think there will be synergy so that the state government and the local government, there's no crisis? Because at the end of the day, how will this be achieved to ensure that there is no fight in all of this?
Thank you so much. I don't envisage a fight. After all, before now, local governments, all of them have their own staff. They've been drawing salaries, they've been drawing resources that with limited work to do. So what I see is that now that financial autonomy has been granted, and within this 3-month window, those administrative issues and those systems and processes will have been put in place for them to take this forward. But there are more fundamental issues that we need to focus on, and I mentioned it the last time I was here. One of them, and concerns that have been raised, is the issue of primary education. Who is responsible for primary education in this country? The Constitution is not clear. The Constitution says local government shall participate in the provision of primary and adult education. What does participation mean? Who are the other participants? It means that the states, the federal government, the local government must all work collectively to provide primary education to the people. The second part of it is healthcare, primary healthcare. Who is responsible for the delivery of primary healthcare at the grassroots level? Again, the Constitution is not clear. It says local government shall participate. What does that mean? Right? It means it's a collective responsibility. But who leads? Is it the federal government? Is it the state government? Or is it the local government? Before now, before the judgments, these responsibilities were managed through the JAC, and that is why there is so much opaqueness. You can't hold anybody responsible. Local governments are waiting for the states to take action. State is also waiting for local government to take action. Federal government sees its intervention as a grant. So those kind of lack of clarity and lack of coordination mechanism has created problem for the administration of basic education as well as primary health care. The other part of it is agriculture. And these are the issues that touches on the on the common man. So with financial autonomy, we now know who Nigerians will be holding accountable for the management of resources. Everybody knows that the questions should be directed now to local government chairmen. The excuse before now that local government chairmen used to give is no longer tenable, right? But however, I'm urging the National Assembly to go back again, leveraging on the current constitutional amendment exercise,
Yes, go ahead. All right, Mr. Mutsu. I like the parts where he was talking. Are you still there? I like the parts where you're talking about how the local government must know that this is now their own responsibility, which of course brought me to my question of when I was asking, are they sure that they know the exact work cut out for them at this moment? So that's what you've been answering to. And
all right, okay, maybe we'll take it back to Mr. Mutsu. Mr. Mutsu, if you're still there, I would like to go back to the real issue of really being autonomous. The good thing this law or this move by the federal government has done is that it has woken up all the state government. Like literally, we have an avalanche of local government elections coming up. In Anambra, for instance, the last 10 years, we understand there has not been an LG election. September, they'll be having an election. But we've seen some elections that have happened. What the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud, calls coronation, not an election. Ebonyi did election. APC won all the seats, all the chairmanship seats, because it's an APC state. Oyo did election. PDP won all the seats. Gombe did election. APC won all the seats. Bauchi just did there recently. PDP won all the seats. Adamawa, PDP won everything. So at the end of the day, there's no way you will say that the governors did not play a role in all of this. So are we just window dressing when it will come to the time of implementation? Oh dear. Okay, I know that Mr. Mutsu may. Let's see whether we can get him back. But and at the end of the day, when we see these elections happen, and you really, because I remember clearly, I think Nyesom Wike, the former governor of Rivers State and the FCT minister, had publicly said a couple of times he bought form for everybody. How many of you bought form? And then we see what is playing out in Rivers State. So when you see this election happen across local government areas in these states that I've listed, there's no way you would tell me that the governors did not wield some influence and all of that to make it happen. So will there really be an autonomy in the long run? That's the question I want Mr. Mutsu to answer.
Indeed. That was when Kayode was talking about, or maybe some will just willfully say, okay.
We heard that some even did.
So
I think
let's allow you state government.
I stand to be corrected.
It's mind-blowing. And I shudder to think that a lot of people in government don't have that sense of urgency. There are millions of Nigerians who need good governance as far back as 30 years ago.
As far back as independence.
Exactly.
60 years ago, actually.
You know, so you wonder, are we on the same planet? Or are we, in fact, in the same country? Do you see things? You say you represent people. So who are the people you speak to from time to time? Are they the people telling you the reality of things? So when all of this back and forth is happening, I get a sense that these people are sometimes disconnected. Because when you know that your people need good road, as far back as 20 years ago, then, in fact, the moment you get a semblance of opportunity, you swing to work, not trying to say, oh, they'll strip me of power. As a state government, I'm no more as powerful as I ought to be. They want to remove me from power. No, you are there because of the people. So that is my concern, really, that this is dealt with all sense of seriousness, urgency, and responsibility. Because, hey, there are millions of Nigerians that I tell you need that good governance as far back as 60
years ago. When you begin to think about politicians and asking them questions, do you really know that you are there to serve the people?
Right.
This autonomy should actually be a welcome idea when you link it with rural developments and linking it to the people who actually need this help. Kayode talked about good road networks. You get to some local government, you get to some states, and it's just the city center that is well put together. And you begin to see rural communities don't even have roads, and they're very angry because at the end of the day, these people come to their towns or their villages to contest, do campaigns, give promises, and then when they get there, they forget them. For as little as potable water, some villages do not even have that. And you begin to wonder, what continent, what century are we in?
Kayode did one brilliant, what do you call it?
The explainers that we always do.
That your explainer was quite brilliant because it helped to break down what the responsibilities are of the local government. So, people have said, when it comes to election, no matter how rural the area is, ballot boxes will find themselves.
They go. Exactly.
You will see a ballot, a polling unit. Now, let me break it down for you. There is a House of Assembly member that covers that area. There is a federal lawmaker at the House of Reps that covers that area. There's a senator that covers that area broadly.
Region,
There's a governor. There are even ministers that come from states that can contribute their own quota. All of these people put together, at the end of the day, you go to these communities and you're asking yourself, is this Nigeria?
I have a proposal, guys.
Yeah, proposal.
It's extreme. So ballot boxes should maybe not get to places that development doesn't get to. So let the votes from those people be removed from the votes of the person currently in power.
I worry, see, me, I think some people have said this, and it looks like it's not a strong conversation, but at the end of the day, it is. If we have local government elections like we're having, and the government in power keeps winning, it's not necessarily a great sign about the democracy we are trying to practice. When you juxtapose it with this aspiration, this bold move to give local government autonomy, because at the end of the day, the man who helps you to win a local government election, you're naturally loyal to that person at the end of the day. So with all of these elections coming up at the local government levels and then being won by the party in power, is really begs the question whether indeed these monies will really, it may get to the account, yes, but what happens to the implementation of those funds? That is a big question.
I hope you consider my proposal. Let their votes be deducted from all of them across board. But I see Mr. Mutu is back.
I understand Mr. Mutu is back. So let's take it to Mr. Mutu. We've just been chit-chatting about this particular one, but maybe your take on the question I asked.
Yes, if you are hearing me now, and like I said before, reform is an incremental process. You can't change the world overnight, and you cannot also solve the whole problem at once, right? What we have done now is first make sure that the resources get to the right persons, and let there be the necessary accountability mechanisms for us to know who to hold accountable for the management of those resources. Before now, there was a man called Jack, which we don't know who he is. So each time you talk about accountability, you ask the local government chairman, they will tell you it is not them, but it is Jack. So who is Jack? Right now, we now know who we need to deal with is the local government chairman. So all the people in the rural communities know who to hold responsible. And we expect that activities will pick up at the local government level. That is to the extent of management of the resources. There are other accountability mechanisms put in place. The anti-corruption agencies and everybody are currently monitoring the utilization of those resources. So it's not going to be business as usual. That is the first one. Second one is ensuring that only elected officials, no matter how the election is done, only elected officials manage those resources. And once there is an election, you know that the chairman is only responsible to the electorate, as it were. But if he was an appointed official, a sole administrator, his responsibility and accountability is only to the appointer. That is the second part of it. But let's now come to the main issue you have raised, which is the credibility of elections. That is a different ballgame. It's going to be a continual process. Now that we have dealt with the issue of elected officials managing resources, now that we have also dealt with the issue of funding getting to the right persons, the third issue that we expect Nigerians to start engaging is to enhance the election credibility in all the local governments. And it's not going to happen overnight. After all, INEC didn't become what it is today overnight. It has to be an area where everybody will have to, including the media, including development agencies, the government will have to work with the state government to ensure that we enhance and strengthen the independence of those electoral bodies, so that at least in the next 10 years, we'll start seeing some semblance of what we see at INEC. So you don't just say because you're not sure of their credibility, you throw the baby with the bathwater. No, give them that responsibility and support them to conduct elections in the right manner. I've also seen people asking for that responsibility to be transferred to INEC. That is also another option. But again, it may not also necessarily be the best option. So it's for Nigerians to look at what will work best. If the state government insists that they want the responsibility to conduct the election, then the support should be strengthening that process. If Nigerians feel that no, it should be transferred to an independent body like the National Independent Electoral Committee, that is also a conversation that we should have. Let Nigerians have faith. Let's test a new approach, which is holding those people who have the mandate to manage those resources and ensure that we capacitate them. We give them the necessary wherewithal, we give them the necessary support to be able to deliver services to the rural communities. After all, even at the state level, state governments are still struggling, despite all the support that have been given to them over the years. And it's not going to change overnight. The federal government is also struggling, despite all the support. So it's more or less for us, all of us, to continue to hold public officials accountable, for us to continue to track the effective utilization of those resources to ensure that services are delivered. And I know that in the few years to come, we'll all come back here and celebrate that the right decision was taken. And it will also free up the state government for the responsibility of now babysitting local government and focus on their own mandate at the state level. I think I will stop here for now.
All right, so Mr. Mutu, you have talked about holding government accountable, but we have seen how that turns out. So to that layman, that person listening right now to you in that rural area who is to hold the local government accountable and everyone working around the local government accountable when they do not see a difference, a positive difference, how would they do? How would they go about it?
There are civil society organizations. There are even town unions, right? The media is part of it. It starts from the publication of the resources. The federal government on a monthly basis is expected to publish how much was allocated to each local government. It also continues from the budgeting process. The citizens need to be involved in the process of local government budgeting to ensure that the budgeting process is inclusive, it is participatory, and it reflects the wishes and aspirations of the people. Councillors who will now be passing the budget of the local governments, who represent the various wards, will have to ensure that they consult with their constituents. The citizens also insist on ask for opportunity to participate in that process. Power is never given freely. The status quo will not change overnight. Insist. And by the time we keep insisting and pushing the boundaries, we'll be able to break the glass ceiling. It's happening at the state level, it's happening at the federal level, and I know that it's going to be more effective at the local government level because it is where the shoe pinches the people the most, and they are going to participate. And we are working closely with other partners to ensure that we mobilize citizens to engage in this process across the country. But I know it's not going to be an easy meet, and we'll need the cooperation of everybody to make sure that that happens.
Almost. Thank you so much, Mr. John Mutu, National Coordinator, Democracy Vanguard, Governance, Public Policy and Development Consultant. Thank you so much. We hope that we also upscale the knowledge base of the officials at the local level now that they need to pass budget to understand all of the technicalities as well.
That's true. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Well, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to introduce a young man who's blazing the trail. Join us again.